know before I start my introduction is what you already know about the term reflective practice, whether you feel you know about it as a theory, whether you feel you know about it as a person who works as a teacher and who thinks about the teaching. So could you take 2 minutes on your table, and these tables are already very crowded. You may prefer to work perhaps as 2 people or 3 people. I would like in 2 minutes to say, right, please tell me what you already feel we know in the room about the idea of reflective practice. And then I will use what I've printed for you, but I'll also change that a little bit depending on where we start. Okay? So I'm going to say nothing for 5 minutes, and you are going to talk to each other and just jot down what we already know about the idea of being a reflective practitioner, the term reflective, the idea of reflection, the idea of it as a way of understanding about teaching. Off you go. Okay. What we'll do, to move us forward quite quickly, is I will ask one of the tables to tell us everything they know, and you'll listen very carefully. And if we have missed something from table 1, that's you, then you will add in extra things, okay? So table 1 will just tell us, what do you think at the moment you feel you know about this topic? Please tell us.
We feel that reflective practitioners are teachers. In fact, will reflect on their classroom practices.
Yes?
What worked and what didn't work.
What worked and what didn't work?
With the idea that to make changes if necessary.
Yes.
Basically, that's.
And they are the ones who are accepting innovations and changes. They accept changes, and they make additions or subtractions on their own reflection practices.
Okay. So what you've already learned, and this is a very helpful summary, is that all teachers, of course, are thinking what works, what doesn't work. Why is there a problem with this particular child situation? How can I change it? So the more you know about teaching, the more your reflection is on very particular things. When you're a new teacher, everything is a problem. Everything is a challenge. As you become proficient, competent, expert, less things become a challenge. So one of the themes today is, because in the room I'm sure I have many experienced teachers, we know beginning teachers have to think all the time because they're learning very fast, and that's important. More experienced teachers perhaps have to be more, have to think harder about how to reflect. Not just, because reflection by itself is not actually normal. Lovely. We have an addition, please tell us.
Reflection is actually an interactive dialogue between action and thought. Interactive, not interactive.
Interactive between, yes.
Within your
Action and thinking. Action and thinking. I did this, then I'll think. Or, in the classroom, of course, I am doing this, and I'm thinking at the same time. Reflection is not just after the event, it is during.
There's reflection in action.
Exactly. Thank you. Any other contributions about in the room about how where we should start? Please,
We are all reflective practitioners, and we as teachers must instill in children also how to develop their thinking and to reflect upon their own learning.
Yes, very good. Now then, one of my jobs is to be difficult today. I think so. And I'm going to say, no, not all teachers are reflective. I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. The job is so demanding, and the better you get, the more responsibility you have in the school, and the difficult to find time. So I think it's important to say, I agree with you really, but the system is not reflective. The system we all work in, where I come from, where you are, does not say, oh, you want time to reflect? Fine. Take the day off. So we know that one of the skills of teachers is reflection must be something you fit into your very busy working time. I agree with you. All good teachers. Yes.
I meant to say all people, all of us are practitioners, not only the teachers. In our lives, we are all.
Well, I think that's an aspiration. There's one more chair. One there, I think. One here. Please come in. It's an aspiration we all believe in. And for the children, of course, we would like to show them that taking time to step back and think about why and what we are doing is crucial to learn. But the education system all around the world makes teachers work too hard and little time for authentic reflection. So one of the issues for us today is how we, all teachers, help each other. Okay. Okay, tell us. I had a point over here, I think.
Basically, for me, reflective practitioner is all about evaluating your own self, looking back at your own strengths and weaknesses, and then carrying forward in the way that you can actually bring about a change in your own self with that evaluation. This is reflective practitioner.
Yes. So, my colleague has offered a very hard point. It's about self-evaluation. This is very painful and hard and easy to avoid. So my other point, again I'm going to be difficult, is surely it's much easier to think that was quite a good lesson. That went quite well. On to the next lesson. Yes? Because we must be routine. In teaching we must be routine, we must be busy, we must make things work. So the temptation and actually the pressure to not to think too much. Constraints. The constraints of the real life of being a teacher are such that opportunities for reflection are limited. And actually maybe our systems don't want too much reflection because we might get a bit angry sometimes or critical about why we're doing something. Interesting today, the theme today for me from the conference so far is the aspiration in these rooms is for teaching that is student-centered. What I'm learning, how remarkably similar to my own country, is that the system is assessment-led. It's results. Now, I think when you're quite a good teacher, not a very good teacher, you're quite a good teacher, you focus on results, everyone is happy. Okay? Because you get quite good results. That's okay. What you don't do probably is think that child in that room, that individual child, I could have done something better for them than just a result. Again, I think this is where reflection is a very important tool because it makes you step away from the system and say the system itself has issues, so I want to be better than my system is. Okay. These are all fantastic points for starting. Anything else anyone wants to add before we perhaps just look at one or two? Yes, please.
I just wanted to add something that reflection is a very difficult process.
Yes.
It starts with like asking questions about yourself, and even if you think about your head teacher or your colleague observing you, giving you feedback, accepting that is a very difficult thing. So in the same way, reflection is like a self-critique. It's like asking questions from yourself and then being defensive about this thing. So I think it's a very difficult process, and it comes with the passage of time. As you become more aware of the classroom practices and knowledge and different areas, then it starts coming in.
Absolutely. There's a very good saying about teaching, which is this. Some teachers have 25 years experience. 25 experiences of the same year.
Yes.
Right? Not 25 years of experience and wisdom, but because of system, and that's because they weren't well trained or they weren't very reflective. They're not making progress. They're doing maybe okay. And every profession has to have people who maybe are not quite so aspirational. Reflection resists that idea. Reflection resists the idea of a plateau, a place where you arrive and you think, this is okay, I'm comfortable here. It is, as you said, always hard, self-evaluation. On one of my programs, an interesting teacher doing his master's, and he did his dissertation on teachers as perfectionists. Okay? And he studied several teachers who said, I have not taught a good lesson for 10 years. What? These are very good teachers. And they said, it's never been good enough for me. It's always one child could have learned more, or I could have done more with this. So it's a hard discipline, reflection. But I want to point out that it's not as hard as I'm trying to make it sound, in the sense that when we share reflective opportunities as teachers, we do better. I think one of the problems, if you know the original idea from Dr. Donald Shon, his book about reflective practice, okay, which I'm sure many of you know, which looked at a number of disciplines. He very much put the emphasis on the individual. And I agree with that at one level. In the end, yes, it's the self. It's you. The teacher in your room with your children. At the same time, that's to say, only I can make a difference. Actually, why are we here together? We believe we collectively make a difference. So reflection, I think, should step outside the idea that only the individual can be reflective, to the idea that the community of us can be helpfully reflective. You made the point about feedback from your head teacher or whatever. We all want feedback. We all want evaluation. We all want it to be very nice. We'd like it to be nice, but actually we know that that wouldn't be true. Teaching is too difficult. No lesson is exactly right. Every person who joins our classroom has a different perspective. They may not say that was wrong, they shouldn't, but they may say, I would have done that differently. That's very valuable. Not that they think they could have done it better than me or you, but it could be better because several perspectives are better than one. Okay, I'm going to do a little presentation without PowerPoint. Are there any other points before we start?
I just wanted to add is that there is some level of reflection in every individual at any point.
Yes.
But one has to see maybe if there is a certain activity or a certain aspect of teaching which is working in one situation. So it should not be a rule that yes, I reflected and this activity was a successful one. So it should be successful every time in this situation or similar situations. So one has to have that eye to understand that the similar activity can not be successful in other situations also. So if that perception is there with the person who is supposed to be a reflective practitioner, then I would say the outcome will be more effective.
One more thing.
Agreed. What was that, sorry?
One more
Hello?
thing.
Yes, please.
We were just discussing as a group that reflective